Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and let's resume our complete beginner's guide to Stellaris with our play here with the fantastic United Nations of Earth. We're moving slow, because it's the beginning of the game, we have so much to learn, but we are in process right here on Sirius of mapping out and surveying this system. Now, as I go into Sirius right here from the galaxy map by clicking on the system icon, you can see down at the bottom center of the screen, it says it's an unsurveyed system, and it has this icon here, which means that this system is not restricted, it's not with anybody else's borders, and there's no restriction on us traveling through it. But we still have some work to do to survey it. Now, if you want a tip on how that's going, over in the right, in the outliner, which is defaulted to the government tab, in the civilian ships section, you can see all of our ships are doing things. And the Copernicus, it says it's in the Sirius system. It tells you where it's located on this outliner readout. And if you click on the Copernicus and select it, you'll actually see its path throughout the rest of the system to complete surveying it. So before it's done, it's got to hit all of these nodes of interest. Same thing over here with the Einstein. If I double click on it, I will switch from the Sirius system to the Yob Hanir system, and you could see where it's gone. Now, it's already, this science vessel has already hit a few of these. So the ones that it has the elements within the system, whether it's a planet, a moon, an asteroid, anything of interest here that it has surveyed, it's going to be in white, and we'll see the resource yields, if there are any available. And then these kind of grayed out indicators are bodies that we still need to explore, places we still need to survey. Alright, so I'm going to unpause it, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the fact that we might need another science vessel very soon. You can see if I push M to go to the galaxy map, we have a lot to explore, and we want to know information as fast as possible. So a third or even a fourth science vessel is recommended. However, we know
Anomaly found.
Okay. We know that if I want to survey with another science vessel, I'm going to need a scientist, and that's going to take some unity. We're already up to 63, and we do have, if I go over to the Leaders tab, we haven't really looked at this tab yet, but in the Leaders tab, which is F5, it has the people with the star, you can see the different leaders you have already appointed, and then you can go into these tabs to see officials, commanders, and scientists. And what I want to pay attention to right now are two things. Number one, we have 2 out of 3 possible scientists that we can recruit without being penalized. And then down here, these are the recruitable leaders that are available. And we can already get a feel for like how expensive they are. And they are the same as before. It says right here in recruitable leaders, which are the leaders down below our current scientists, there's 3.2 years or whatever. Oops, I need to pause the game before this pool will refresh. So these are the same as what we saw before, but we need one of them. So we have to wait till we get the Unity, and we also want to get a science vessel before we hire anyone and have to pay their upkeep. So now, because time has passed, we do have the Unity. So I'm going to go to our shipyard. Now, there's a few ways you can get to the shipyard that you have. Just like within Stellaris, there's so many different ways that you can get to different structures and tabs. But for now, I think the simplest thing to do is just to go to the bottom of the outliner and select from the shipyard category the only shipyard we have, which is the Sol Station Starport. Once we've got this selected, we're going to go to the 4th tab from the bottom. On the right here, the shipyard, just like we did before, and we're going to build a science ship. It's going to cost 100 alloys. We have enough. I'm going to select it. I'm also going to queue up a construction ship. Now, the construction ship does not require anybody to be in charge of it, so it can kind of fully operate without a scientist. So that's great, so I'm going to build that, because once we get some systems, we're going to be wanting to build upgrades all the time. However, it is possible that I want to build a colony ship before I throw down another construction ship, but we're going to get the amount of alloys required, and we already have... either way, we have to wait on the consumer goods anyway before we can build the colony ship. So the colony ship would be, we can only build 4 different kinds of ships: the Corvette, which is our military ship, the construction ship, the science ship, and then the colony ship, which we'd need to build if we want to colonize a world like Sirius III. Now, to do this, you could see the cost of the colony ship, and it's going to take 200 food, 200 consumer goods, and 200 alloys, and 360 time units. I have very few consumer goods, and this is a problem because we're only producing a little bit. We only have a surplus of 1. We actually produce 27.78, as you can see from the tooltip. However, we consume so much on Earth, and this might be a good time for us to augment the amount of consumer goods that we're building, because it's really low. So I'm going to leave these 2 things queued up, and I'm going to go back to the planet screen, which we've briefly talked about, but it takes, I'm telling you, if you're like me, it takes several times of seeing the stuff in the game, interacting with it, before I really get familiar with it, and the planet screen is definitely one of those. I have to have different bits of it explained again and again, and then it becomes second nature. But it's not, if you were overwhelmed or still are uncertain about that, I'll just tell you I was the same way. So over here on the right, in the outliner, we see Earth, and we can get to Earth to open the planet screen like we talked about before by either clicking on this or clicking on the bottom in the bottom left, the icon in the bottom left corner, or pushing 1. But you notice how in the outliner there's these 2 yellow icons on Earth. This leads us into a point that I was mentioning before, which is that one of the main things that I like to do is look at the outliner just to kind of get a feel for what I should be doing right now. Like, I have my overarching plan, of expanding, meeting aliens, and becoming prosperous and all that stuff. My ideology, my civics that kind of govern the story that I want to tell for our empire. But for the minute-to-minute business of achieving that goal, you want to look at the outliner so that you are sure that all of the pieces in your empire are working to that end, or doing what you want. So we can see all of our ships are working except for this construction ship. It is currently in orbit around Sirius A. It has nothing that it's doing, and that is because it can't do what we want, which is build a... if I select the ship, I want to build a star base in Sirius, but we have to finish surveying it. Now, as we're talking about the outliner, you can, be like, hey, what's this ship doing? Select it, and then right-click on Sirius and say, can you build me a star base? And it's going to say, I need 8 more alloys, actually, to do that. And we can't do anything until it's surveyed, so we have to wait. However, if I select it again, also in the bottom left, you see with the ship selection, you could just click on these buttons to do things. You could say, hey, I want you to build a starbase, and just click on it that way. Or you can automate the labor, which we'll talk about in a bit when that becomes important. But right now we're kind of doing everything manually because we want to get it right. Now, what I just noticed right there was that if I want to build a starbase, which I do, it's going to take alloys, and so is the colony ship. So maybe at the shipyard here, I'm going to just click away from that second construction ship that went into the queue. If you're unfamiliar with building games and management games like this, when you add something into the queue, it's automatically going to start working on the first item in the queue once we unpause the game. And then once this is finished, it will just go to whatever else is in the queue. You can rearrange the queue by using these arrows to move things around in the queue, or you can click on something to bounce it out of the queue and say, don't do that. And then we get the refund. And now we have 182 alloys. We need 300 alloys total for a starbase and a colony ship. And we can't really construct anything until we get all the systems surveyed anyway. So maybe we just hold off a bit on that second construction ship so that we can prioritize building a starbase and a colony ship. Perhaps. Maybe that's our plan. We're going to do that for now. Now, we were talking about the outliner and looking at things to manage our empire because I wanted to describe that one of the things you do over here, in addition to just managing your ships, looking at what your shipyards are doing, checking out your fleets, you could also look at your planets and what they need. And these icons will dynamically update based on what's going on. Yellow means like, hey, pay attention to this, and red means like you have a serious problem that you need to look at. So we have yellow for the blocker indicator, which are those diagonal lines, and for buildings. And what these are telling us, if you mouse over, is we have blockers that we can clear, and we saw that before, and that we can support the construction of 2 buildings. So these aren't necessarily bad indicators. These are just suggesting, hey, you could be doing something here that, would benefit your empire. You kind of have some untapped resources or options. So I'm going to click on Earth and bring up our planet screen. Now, remember, if we wanted to deal with the blockers, we click the Features tab in the middle, and then we could, remove the slums, for example, for 300 energy. And that's certainly something to consider. But if we want to improve our horrifying consumer goods production, maybe we should attend to that. So this leads into another way that and again, I am not an expert in this game. I just really enjoy it. And one of the things that I pay attention to is how many of each resource do I have? How many am I producing? Where are my bottlenecks right now? What's holding me back? And I try to, balance my economy so that, for example, I'm producing nearly 80 energy credits a month, which is great. 31 minerals, 27 food. These are good, but only 1 consumer good. I know I need a ton for my colony ship, and I know that the pops on Earth need them, and as the population on Earth grows, they're going to need more of these. So I want to get more. So how do we get more consumer goods? Well, remember, if you mouse over consumer goods here and you look at the bottom of the tooltip, it does give you some suggestions for what you could do. It says, hey, you could build some civilian industries, you could build an industrial district, or you could buy them on the market with energy credits for a short-term fix. All of those are viable. Right now, what I'm going to do is say, I have 8 houses, which is fine. I have 1 free job, which is reasonable, but we can add some here, because as soon as somebody falls into a job, then we're going to be facing unemployment if we don't produce more jobs. And I have a lot of amenities, a reasonable amount. So, what do I want to do? I could build a district, or I could build a building. Now, you see right here where it says districts, and we've got the 5 district types. We have 18 total districts based on our planet size. Our size is 18, so we have 18 districts. 3 of them are blocked from planetary features that we need to clear, so that gives us 15 maximum available districts. We started the game with 13 used, which means this number in green says we have 2 available. You can see that under each category of district, there's more than 2 boxes total available. Like there's 2 free mining districts and 2 free generator districts, but I can only build 2 total currently. I also have 2 buildings that I can build. Now, we kind of looked at cities to talk about what this would do, but let's go ahead and just very, very simply pay attention to the fact that most of these districts, 4 out of 5 of them in the upper right, they have an icon for what they do for your civilization. This actually has a little bit of a housing icon, which is correct, in the upper right. So they all have icons. It's kind of just blended in there. Yeah, it's got houses way up there. So this industrial district right here, which this tooltip told us was an option, civilian industries. Actually, no, they told us that civilian industries as a building or industrial districts, right? We'll look at the building types in a moment. This is something we can do to produce consumer goods and alloys. So how does this work? If we say, build me an industrial district, it'll take 437 time, 475 minerals, which we almost have, and it will have a base upkeep of 2 energy credits. So we have a surplus of 79, so, subtracting 2 from that per month isn't that big of a deal right now. And then just read down the tooltip to see what it does. We get 2 extra houses. We have 8 free houses right now, so this will take us from 8 to 10. And then it provides 2 jobs, a metallurgy job and an artisan job. So there's a metallurgist and an artisan that will be available to be employed, but it doesn't do that automatically. You have to have enough workers to fill that role. So that's why having free workers is important, because you need people to actually work in the district. Now, if they're working there, the district itself just kind of provides the amount of housing that they need. The artisans who work here, if there's an artisan working there, will take minerals and turn them into consumer goods. And if there's a metallurgist working there, then they'll take minerals and turn them into alloys. So it's telling you approximately, based on, its calculations, if we have those workers, every month we'll take 12 minerals and turn them into almost 9 consumer goods and 4.4 alloys. So you can kind of just do some rough math. Now there's but there's more factors that influence the exact outcome of these, but let's just roughly say we're plus 31 on minerals per month. We'd subtract 12 from that. And then we're plus 1 on consumer goods. We'd add 8.89 to that. And we're plus 13 on minerals, and we'd add 4.4 to that. So it's kind of like shuffling around our resources. And this is a nice way to boost our consumer goods. It's very tempting to do this. So this is one option we have to make this number bigger. What you're looking for is to, of course, increase all of these numbers, both in how many you have and how many you get per month. And as you play and get into Stellaris more, you will, based on your civilization, your choices, realize what's most important for you right now. For example, if you're going into like a warfare strategy and you want to make a bunch of ships, well, then you would really, really want alloys. So you would be going hard into producing alloys all over the place. If you're trying to grow and boost your pops, you want a lot of food. If you want to develop planets, you need a lot of minerals to build those things. So it just depends on what you're doing and what you currently are producing. So right now, I'd be happy to make that trade. However, let's look at the buildings and see the options that we have. If I click on this little plus for the free building slot, this window opens up on the right of the planet screen, which is the building construction. And civilian industries, which was the other recommendation from the consumer goods, tells us, okay, you want to build civilian industries? I'm going to mouse over this. This is, again, you see, usually the game gives you an icon in the upper right, if it's applicable, to tell you kind of like at a glance what this is all about. So alloy foundries, hey, you want alloys, this is where you go. Civilian industries, okay, this is going to be for consumer goods. And research labs, well, that gives you research, etc. Ones that don't have an icon, you can just mouse over to get full explanation. And in this smaller window on the construct building panel, you can see just a abbreviated breakdown of the benefit. But if you want the full stuff, mouse over it. So this is saying for civilian industries, 380 minerals, less than the district. We get 2 artisan jobs, and they just take minerals and turn them into consumer goods. We're not going to get any alloys like we would from the district, but for 12 minerals, we actually get 17.78 consumer goods. So it's putting everything into that. And that's pretty incredible too. So I gotta tell you that I am going to choose civilian industries right now just to give us a little bit more consumer goods to work with. So I'm going to click on this. Now, by clicking on that, we immediately spent, boom, all of those minerals. And this slot for buildings is filling up currently because it's in progress. You can see there's a build queue here, just like for the shipyard, of things that we're constructing. And it's telling us how far this is going. We can move it up and down in the queue. We can get it out of the queue. I can just be like, no, I don't want that, and click away from it to get the minerals back. But I'm saying, no, I do want that. Give me that back. Then when I have something in the build queue, you can see on the outliner, Earth reflects that. There's a little progress bar showing you how you're doing. And again, that's just why the outliner is so cool. You can look and be like, okay, how's that building on Earth doing? I don't even have to open the planet screen necessarily. I could just mouse over this and look at the bar and see how it's doing. So at this point, I'm happy that we're going to be increasing our potential for consumer goods. However, it is important to explain this output of consumer goods is not guaranteed unless people are working it. Unless the pops are there working, we won't get that output. So we have 1 available job, and this is actually going to make 2 more available jobs. So it's not immediately going to lead to consumer goods unless, okay, I'm going to click on the population tab of the planet and explain a little bit about the hierarchy of jobs. So you can see right here that all the jobs that you have available are represented. And here's the artisans. We have 2, and we'll get more available jobs once that building is done. And then here's the workers at the bottom. Pops want to move up the employment pyramid. So what that means is, over time, workers want to get promoted and become specialists. More desirable jobs for them. It's easier, probably, you get more money, it's just like a better situation than being a miner or being a farmer, like, difficult manual labor jobs. They want to do the desk job. So they will try to move up. They do not ever want to move down. They will if they have to, but it isn't something that they enjoy. So as these jobs become available and the pops kind of shuffle around labor-wise, we might see maybe people moving up here. Now, what this means is you want to have people doing all of these worker jobs. So you need to balance and not make just all specialist jobs, because eventually your population is like, we want those jobs and we don't want to do these lower jobs. And so you need to kind of be careful about how many specialist jobs you open up to maintain a good distribution of your pops. Now, right now, this isn't a huge issue. I just wanted to kind of look at this and explain how this happens. And we can watch and see what's going on and where our workers might go and where they are currently. Now, one thing you can do if you're like really desperate to have artisans, if I mouse over this, it tells you what's going on with the job. And the hierarchy that I keep mentioning, the game calls this the stratum. And so the stratum is worker, specialist, ruler. And I can click on this to favorite this job, which means it increases its priority. So it makes people more likely to go into that career path. But I'm not going to mess with it. I don't think as a new player you should really tweak a lot of the settings until you're really knowledgeable and comfortable. Then you can min-max to your heart's content. But for now, I'm cool with what we've got, and I'm not going to mess with this. I will show you right here that this is just a pie chart representing the population that we have and the distribution of different species. It's all human, so that's all we've got. It's blue because it's just peeps. But if I mouse over this growing thing right here, it tells you right now that our growth progress is 3.62 per month, and we need to get to 108 to get a new pop, which means a new worker, and that will happen in 9 months. Our growth is happening from our base growth, and then we get a benefit from being nomadic and from our pops, and this is why we get to this kind of like 3.62 business. So 9 months we'll have another pop, and they will add here. Well, there's one available job that they'll go to, but we're going to make 2 more available jobs, and we'll see which profession they matriculate into. But now, let's just leave that and say, okay, great. We set something on Earth. It's trying to build this structure. And I'm going to unpause it and just continue surveying. Oh, while it's unpaused, though, that's right. We got an indicator right here, which was an anomaly. So when you get an anomaly, it's a pop-up window, and the game will pause because they want to show you something. And it's telling us that on solar sails in the Sirius system, our head of research, Salma, on the science vessel, has found the wreckage of an archaic spaceship with an unusual design. We're not quite sure how its propulsion system works. Okay, so when you find anomalies, you have some choices. You can research them and get more information about them, or you can change scientists and have a different scientist come check it out, or what we're going to do, which is leave it be. For the most part, in the beginning of the game, what I like to do is leave anomalies because I need to focus on surveying the system. If she's doing this, then she's not surveying Sirius. We're not going to get the information. We're not going to be able to build a starbase here. And we want to be building starbases and surveying systems. So I'm just going to leave this for later. It tells you over here the difficulty of surveying it, which influences how long it's going to take. So this isn't actually the most difficult, but just leave anomalies be for now and come back for them later is how I'd like to handle this at the beginning of the game. You, of course, can do what you want, but I really want to prioritize surveying the system and not distract her, so I'm just going to let her go. You can right-click this, and now we have a council agenda ready. So we get the voice activation. I'm going to pause it and click on this, and it brings up our government screen. And they're telling us that we have an agenda ready. So the agendas are right here in the middle, and if you mouse over it, it says Launch Agenda, which is infinite opportunities. If we launch this, it will last for 10 years, and it gives us an initial modifier of plus 4% pop happiness, and once it's launched, a 10% bonus. So it just makes everybody happy because people are so excited about the infinite opportunities of exploring space. So I'm going to click on this, and you can see over on the left it says Launched Agenda. And then you can click the agenda list, it's empty, and you can select another agenda that you want to move into later. So right now this is going on, and you can only really have one agenda happening, but while this is happening, you can queue up another agenda that you want to get ready to launch. So this can be... Where do we want to go? So let's look at these. Evolving society would give us more unity. Give and take helps with factions, which we haven't talked about yet, which are like the different political parties within your system. And then open arms is how we treat alien species. So let's go for Evolving Society because Unity is really good, and I haven't met any other species, so I'm just going to go for this. And you can see right here, it's chilling. And I'm going to just be okay with this. Now, you could open the Edict panel and launch an Edict if you want. And you can look at these. And this Edict, actually, right here, Map the Stars, says we get a 25% survey speed, a 10% anomaly discovery chance, and ship hyperlane detection range is increased by 1, so we can find out where the hyperlanes are more easily. However, it requires 15 Unity to open, and then it has an upkeep of 15 Unity. So we only produce 26 Unity, so this would be pretty expensive, but it is really useful. So because I'm working on the agenda, if I go back to the council, the agenda for Evolving Society to get a Unity boost, I'm actually considering Map the Stars. I'm going to click on this, and this is now active. So you could see right here, this has become active, and it's an active edict, and I'm going to unpause the game. All right.
System survey complete.
Okay, and I'm going to close this, and we finished surveying this system down here, which is tremendous. So now we see everything that's available here. This is a great system resource-wise. I'm going to take this Einstein science ship you could see in the outliner. It's sleeping. And I'm going to immediately move this thing to survey another system. I'm not going to do an internal system right now. I want to focus on these two systems that could potentially be choke points for us. So I cannot... You see how I don't know much about it right now because it's in the black part of space, in the fog of war. It's not even in the orange sphere yet because I haven't surveyed this system to extend my radius of like what I know. I'm going to right-click on that and survey this system. And our ship's going to go over there and just start taking a look at that. Perfect. All right, so we have finished surveying this system, which is great. I'm going to right-click to dismiss the indicator. We are building a structure on Earth. We have finished making our third science ship. So I'm going to click on the empty leader slot, and I'm going to put another scientist here. So this scientist has an effect if they're governor. This one lives for a longer period of time, and this one has another counselor effect. I'm just going to take her simply because living for a longer amount of time is just fine with me. I don't want her to be a governor right now. I want her to be exploring. So I'm going to click on this. We're going to spend 100 Unity and 2 per month, bam, to pick her up. And now we can direct this ship. I'm going to right-click on this system and survey this. So now we're really, really doing a good job exploring the galaxy around us so we can make decisions about where we want to settle. Everyone, I hope you're still finding this series to be useful and fun. Like I said, this is just such an amazing game, and once we get into it and understand the controls, it's going to become second nature, but there is just a huge upfront load of learning the game that you kind of have to put in to get through that difficulty curve, and we're getting there bit by bit. If you have any questions, please put those in the comments below. I'd love to help you out, and if you are a Stellaris expert and you'd like to add any additional tips for new players to make this an amazing resource to get more people into the game, help more people who've purchased it understand it, or clarify any mistakes that I made with terminology or strategy, I'd really appreciate that, as long as you do that in a way that's non-spoilery and easy to understand for new players. That would be amazing. Everyone, thanks so much for watching. I'll check you in the next episode. Take care.